So something we say all the time on this channel is that most marriages, they don't fall apart during one dramatic moment. Sometimes that happens, but most of the time, they drift apart in small moments when conversations get shorter and when the laughter gets quieter and when they stop reaching for each other emotionally. And one day, you look at your spouse and you realize, we haven't really felt close in a long time. Some couples grow closer over time, and couples who slowly drift apart, they do so while living under the same roof. And the scary part is most drifting couples don't even realize it's happening until they already feel emotionally disconnected, spiritually distant, and more like roommates than soulmates. So today, I want to help you identify 5 warning signs that your Christian marriage may be drifting apart, and then how to begin reconnecting before the distance grows deeper. Because most couples don't wake up one morning and decide to disconnect. The distance usually slowly grows over time. One busy season turns into another. Conversations get shorter. Laughter becomes less frequent. And before long, you can feel emotionally and spiritually far apart while living under the same roof. I talked with a guy just this morning who said the very same thing. He said, my wife and I, we've probably never been better, but I've just realized lately that work is busy and we just don't have the time for each other that we used to. So in this video, we're gonna answer 3 important questions. The first one is, are we drifting? Or is this just a normal season? The second one is, how did we end up feeling so far apart? You ever felt that? And then, how can we rebuild connection before it's too late? All right, so a few years ago, we were boarding a few horses for our neighbors here at the farm. And one day I looked out the window and there was a horse in my backyard when he was supposed to be in the pasture. Now, immediately I panicked, especially because they weren't my horses. So I ran outside and I started checking everything. Once we got the horse back in, I started checking everything. I checked all the gates first because I thought surely somebody left a gate open, but all the gates were fastened. And I remember standing there completely confused, trying to figure out how this horse got out of this fence. But as I walked around the perimeter of the pasture and the perimeter of the fence, I noticed something. There was one section of fence where the post had become loose and the post caused the wire to sag. It was weak and it sagged just enough to create a small opening where the horse could jump over it. And that's where it hit me later. The horse didn't escape because of one dramatic break in the fence. It happened because one post, over time, slowly got wobbly and loose, and it created a large gap over time. And honestly, that's how many Christian marriages drift apart too. I meet with couples every week here at our farm. We host marriage intensives for couples that need help. And they come here and they stay for 3 days. And as we dig into their story, this is what I see. It just drifts over time. So they drift apart because small areas of weaknesses go unaddressed for too long. Maybe that's a secret sin that's hidden. Maybe it's selfishness, because at the root of all of our marriage issues, that's the thing, we're all selfish people. But no matter what it is, the dangerous part is that most couples don't recognize the drift while it's happening. They just slowly become less connected, less intentional, less emotionally safe, and less spiritually unified. So let me show you 5 warning signs that your marriage may be drifting apart, and that we're gonna hit these quick. The first warning sign is that you feel more like roommates than best friends. Yeah, you still live together, you still handle responsibilities together, you're probably quite efficient in it. You still manage schedules, bills, parenting, work, church life, all that together. But somewhere along the way, the friendship just started fading and the conversation becomes transactional. And most of what you talk about now is logisticals. Did you pick this up? Who's getting the kids? What time's practice? But deep conversation, fun, enjoying each other, laughing together, has that become rare? And here's what's dangerous about this stage. Many couples normalize it. They assume this is just what marriage becomes after so many years together. But marriage was never meant to become two exhausted people simply managing a household together. You can live in the same house and still feel emotionally alone. And healthy marriages require intentional friendship. They require connection beyond responsibilities. And when friendship stops being nurtured, that's when the drift happens. All right, so that was the first one. Here's the second one. The second warning sign is this. One spouse feels disconnected, but the other really doesn't see it. And this is incredibly common. Usually one spouse starts saying things like, I miss us, or we never talk anymore, or I feel disconnected. And the other spouse responds with, I think we're fine. We're just busy. Or like, isn't this normal? One spouse feels the drift long before the other recognizes it. And honestly, I see this pattern all the time in couples as well. More oftentimes than not, the wife is the one longing for deeper emotional connection, while the husband thinks everything's okay. And the reason husbands think everything's okay is because one, while wives like connection, husbands like isolation. We just want to go in our man cave, and we just don't want drama or conflict. So as long as there's no drama or conflict happening, a lot of times the husband will feel like, I think we're fine. But not fighting is not always a sign of connection. Sometimes it simply means you stopped engaging deeply altogether. If there's no fighting, there's no passion sometimes. One spouse is quietly hurting while the other assumes that this is just a busy season. And if that disconnect keeps growing, emotional loneliness starts settling into the marriage. All right, so that's the second warning sign. Here's the third one. The third warning sign is that your home has lost peace and emotional safety. Now, this doesn't always mean that there's constant yelling or explosive fights. Sometimes drift just sounds loud, but sometimes drift sounds quiet. Sometimes it looks like criticism, sarcasm, or short tempers, or walking on eggshells. You ever had that in your home? Sometimes it looks like emotional shutdown, or coldness, or avoidance, or distance. You stop bringing things up because it never really goes well. You stop feeling emotionally safe, or you stop feeling understood. And eventually the home no longer feels peaceful. It feels tense. You ever felt that in your home? A Christian home should feel like a refuge, not like emotional survival mode. So when marriages drift, the emotional climate of the home tends to change. And you can feel it when you walk in the door. And many couples stay in this pattern so long that they start believing this tension is just normal married life. Guys, look at me. It's not. It's not normal, and it shouldn't be. All right, so here's the fourth warning sign. The fourth warning sign is this. You've stopped pursuing each other. It's one of the biggest mistakes couples make. They assume connection will maintain itself automatically. It won't. Healthy marriages stay connected because couples continue intentionally pursuing one another. But over time, many couples stop dating each other emotionally. They stop asking questions. They stop flirting. They stop planning intentional time together. And they stop praying together. They stop showing curiosity about each other's hearts. And eventually the relationship shifts from intentional connection to simply coexistence. Guys, look at me. What you stop pursuing, you slowly stop protecting. It's true in every area of life. Many couples don't mean to drift apart. Life simply becomes crowded. Work gets busy. Kids consume the schedule. Stress piles up, and then exhaustion takes over. And before long, the marriage gets whatever energy is left over at the end of the day. if any. But healthy marriages, they rarely thrive on leftover energy. Okay, finally, the fifth warning sign is this: your connection to Christ is growing weaker. See, at the deepest level, many disconnected marriages are connected to spiritually disconnected lives. If you're not abiding in Christ, then Christ's life is not being reproduced in you. It's not necessarily rebellion. It's not necessarily walking away from faith, but slowly drifting from abiding in Christ. You stop praying together. You stop pursuing God together or independent with yourself. You stop pursuing God either together or by yourself. You stop depending on Him daily, and you eventually begin trying to love your spouse out of your own strength or out of your flesh, instead of out of the overflow of God's Spirit working inside of you. But guys, you got to hear me. You cannot consistently give your spouse kindness and patience and gentleness and forgiveness and grace while remaining disconnected from the source of those things. The health of your spiritual connection with Christ will always affect the health of your marriage connection with each other. Now, here's the good news. Drift does not have to become destruction. Many marriages that feel distant today can become deeply connected again. I've seen it. I work with couples every week. But healthy marriages rarely stay connected accidentally. One of the biggest things that reconnects couples is when they stop simply managing life together and they start moving towards something meaningful together. So if you feel like your marriage has been drifting, one of the most important questions you can ask is this: what are we actually building together? Because couples who share a purpose tend to stay connected through difficult seasons. So if you want to know how to stop surviving marriage and begin building a deeper connection again, then I want you to watch this next video right here. Does your marriage have a purpose? I think it may completely change how you see your relationship.